Hello everybody, Colin Tansley from Intelect Group, here with another short episode of, Risk Watchdogs Live. Today I'm with Peter Taylor, who's a member of the group.
Good morning.
Morning, Peter. Peter's got a wealth of experience with fraud investigation gained from both within the police and the wider insurance industry. We thought today we'd just talk about fraud, given that Action Fraud announced that there are in the region of £34 million worth of losses in the UK alone in the last 12 months. That featured in Business Cyberbytes this week. So what do you reckon to that, Peter? Why is that happening?
Yeah, there's a couple of factors. I think the actual amount of 34.5 million covered investment frauds,
Right.
sort of new investment frauds that went through Action Fraud and that they accepted as, as being viable frauds.
Yeah.
I think the number's probably quite low, but it certainly reflects a change I saw in my activities during the course of last year, and that was a definite increase in investment fraud. So, people, private individuals, small businesses being contacted by investors, offering them a fantastic opportunity. I think at the beginning of the year, this time last year, we were seeing lots of people say that they had, 5 million pieces of PPE.
Oh,
do you want to invest in this? So I think obviously we've got the COVID thing, but we've had a couple of other things going on as well. One of which is people being strapped for cash. People being scared of the future. So they call it the fear, uncertainty, and doubt factor, which basically is the perfect environment for fraud. For finding victims. So we've seen a lot in relation to Forex traders on social media. We've seen the crypto scams. So some people have made a lot of money out of cryptocurrency, but they've not done that none of them have done it by joining crypto clubs. They've done it by buying a coin or more and keeping hold of it. But again, the criminals have capitalized on that. But the other one that we're seeing a lot of is we used to get the advance fee fraud for loans or investments. Still knocking around, but an interesting spin on that I'm seeing now is some really big potential deals where people are being asked to take like an indemnity policy out to cover the loan instead of an advance fee, to replace the advance fee. And I've seen some huge ones with that. So like one example I saw was a company involved in technology contacted by an overseas investor and offered a huge investment from Russia and Thailand, provided they bought a bond. The security bond, but the security bond was completely bogus. Everything was bogus. But I've got to admit, if you Googled it, it all looks all right. It's been able to go beyond Google and professionalism. One of the things that I have seen is which possibly relates to the risk watchdogs type of thing, is that we've got a lot of people running fraud for businesses or running counter fraud who've actually come in from other departments. Or the fraud role has become part of what somebody does. So and some of them are doing a really good job, but we've got a lot of people out there at the moment on a steep learning curve that haven't perhaps had the time and investment in them or the training that they really need to fully understand the problem. So they're applying experience from another department into counter fraud.
In the police, I think, when there was a divergence, a break away from specialist departments and pulling together into sort of more generic. I think we probably both experienced that, didn't we? Yeah,
definitely so. So as I say, mainly it's been the fear and uncertainty and doubt that COVID has caused, but also, as well as that, the way that the criminals are now crossing over the silos very, very clearly. between fraud, financial crime, and cyber. And unfortunately, again, as you know, the counteraction to that is that we've also got the defence from fraud, the defence from financial crime, and the defence from cybersecurity tend to be three different routes.
Yeah.
Whereas the attacks just come over the walls, come over the borders.
Yeah.
You know, and are coming on through. And some of the smarter businesses, particularly the big banks, the big insurers, seem to be realising that and bringing those teams together. It's better to have one team with lots and lots of skills where they can interact with each other than separated down into the old, you know, almost like the Ford production line where one lot put the wheels on.
Yeah, you can over-specialise, can't you?
You can, yeah.
It becomes a bit of a problem. Some great comments in there from sort of Mike's and Vivian. Thank you very much. So you and I have worked together on the IRIS risk assessment for fraud.
Yeah.
So what value do you think that we're going to publish that today? What value do you think that brings to businesses then? What does a risk assessment do?
Yeah, I remember, obviously, my career sort of chops and changed a little bit. I started off in the cops. I worked for insurance claims. And then for the last 7 years, I've been working as a consultant. So I've dealt with wider things now, like employment fraud and then cybercrime. Yeah. And the first time I did a fraud review for an online retailer, I got the job because of the questions that I asked them.
Yeah.
You know, they spoke to 2 or 3 consultants, and I asked them about 15 or 20 questions. And they told me afterwards, when I was getting the feedback, I asked just the questions that I asked. Yeah. Help them understand where their fraud risk might be. What they were getting right and everything else. Because what you don't want to do is scrap everything and start all over again. But you need to know, we're doing that bit right. You know, we're quite good on prevention. We're not so good on detection. Once we've actually found a fraud, we're not too good there. You know, that's where the room for improvement is. Yeah. So the aim of the assessment that I've done is anybody. I mean, it will help people that are very experienced in fraud, just to sort of refresh if they started to forget to ask some crucial questions. But certainly people that are maybe managing fraud teams or small businesses, you know, instead of going on Google, you know, what do I do about fraud? I like Google, by the way. I just think it can sometimes work against us as being the font of all knowledge, and a lot of it's wrong. So the idea for me was certainly for smaller businesses that you know, somebody there where fraud is part of their role. It'll help them to ask the right questions of themselves and within the business. People that might be supervising fraud teams or boards where they've got you know, the stakeholders in fraud. I think it'd help people like that. That's where I think the value is.
And that was the end virus, isn't it, really, to sort of get people aware of all these risks that are going on. So what we're going to do, we've agreed that we're going to make the fraud risk assessment free for 7 days, and then it goes into the gold package. So if you want to understand your fraud risk, or any other risk for that matter that's involved in business, go to the Intelect.app. That's the IRIS platform. I'll be making that free for 7 days very shortly. You know, you don't know what you don't know is the bottom line, isn't it? I think you know, you need to understand what those threats are, and we provide an array of tools in there. So please make use of it. Prevention is better than cure, to sort of coin that phrase. Thanks very much, Peter. That's really interesting. I hope people have found it of interest. You know, getting themselves aware and stop these fraudsters dead in their tracks. Thanks very much for everybody. We'll be back again next week with something different. I'm looking at talking about cyber insurance next week, if I can get, and that again is another way of preventing this sort of stuff. Okay, thanks very much. Goodbye for now.
Thank you. Thanks, Colin.